A bunch of us started out from near Grantsville and headed west on I-80 towards Wendover. Paul Stoddard was back there. We just passed him. He was in a camper and towing his trailer. And then Jenna and Philip, we just passed them. And we're coming up now on Kent Price and his portable pilot's lounge. We got out to Wendover around, I guess it was about 4 in the afternoon, and began setting up just west of the Bonneville Speedway. Lots and lots of empty space to fly around on. Here goes Jenna getting ready to take off in Kent's machine. She recently soloed and looks like she's doing a fine job of flying that contraption. One great thing about flying out there is that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of acres where you could land with no problems if you had to. It was really a nice, smooth afternoon. Really, really good flying up until sunset. There's all kinds of scenery out here to fly over. Down below here, for example, were what looked like sand dunes, but it's probably a mixture of salt and sand. And then just ahead are mountains that, according to my map, are called Volcano Mountain. This too is part of the Basin and Range province of the United States. This is an area where, because our continent is being pulled apart in a way, the valleys drop down during earthquakes, leaving the mountains standing tall. In the process of this happening, a lot of the mountains wind up as blocks that twist and turn, kind of like a child's set of blocks being tossed onto the floor. I'm not sure what kind of rock that was down there, but it doesn't look like it's volcanic. In fact, most of it looked like limestone, although I'd have to get out and go climb up there with a bottle of acid and see if it fizzes when I drop some hydrochloric acid on the stuff. These blocks of mountains around here were what were left high when the valleys sank beneath them. Captain Bonneville of the Geological Survey back in the 1800s was able to determine that the Wasatch Range had the valley on the side of the Wasatch Range over to the east in Salt Lake is 13 feet lower than the corresponding portion of the valley out here to the west. How he managed to do that in the 1850s or 60s is a little beyond me, but it certainly is a testimonial to the cleverness and ingenuity of those early scientists as they studied all of this. I swung a little ways south of one of the mountains and then came up through a valley heading back, I headed to the north of one of the mountains and then swung around through this valley, coming back heading to the south and back out to where we had camped. Right about this point, you can see the machine swinging and sort of flopping around. I guess I flew into a little bit of a rotor as breezes blew across the mountains to the west of me, and the air rotated and gave me a bit of an interesting ride for a few moments. Wasn't bad, but certainly a marked difference to the smoothness that I had been experiencing earlier. From this point, I could look out to the southwest and see the Enola Gay hangar at the Wendover Airport Historic Air Force Base, where they prepared and trained B-29 crews to drop the first atom bombs. Shadows were stretching out as the sun fell lower in the western sky. I'm a little disappointed because there was actually more color than what my camera picked up here. There we're looking out southeast toward the Bonneville Raceway. Speed Week had been just the week before, and so we had a few conveniences out there, like some outhouses. In the evening we gathered around, not exactly a campfire, but we just gathered around and talked. It was interesting that the conversation quickly turned to, guess what?
I think they're gonna just go for it, go to school, and
I think so.
then who knows, they might end up online again.
But if you look at the stats, as long as they're not having football games in the rest homes,
I don't know. Yeah.
75%, 80% of the deaths are above 70. So
Don't talk like that.
sorry.
It's like, no.
Me?
And the next morning, wow, about 6:30 in the morning, there was the moon and Venus waiting to greet us. Little breezy, but it soon died down and we had a good day of flying ahead of us. It all made me remember the days back in Ohio when we used to go out to fly-in breakfasts just about every weekend. We'd fly in, camp under our aircraft wings, and then in the morning we'd go out on dawn patrol. I wonder if they still do that. Anyway, it wasn't long before everybody was setting up and laying out chutes and doing pre-flights and getting ready to go for another good morning of flying. Then into the air, and several of us headed out east toward a rest stop that's 6 or 7 miles east of where we had camped. But first, a quick turn around and look down at our campsite. There were quite a few other people camped down there, most of them out running around in four-wheelers and other ground-bound machinery. There's a good big chunk of the Cedar Valley Airforce getting ready to launch down there. I followed Keith out towards the Speedway and the rest area. And again, just hundreds and hundreds of square miles of absolutely flat country. And because of the salt, very, very few living things try to make a living down there. Keith likes to skim down low and make tracks where nobody has made tracks before. I really enjoy watching our shadows racing across the ground down below. Well, no comment there. On toward the rest stop, and then a couple more hours of really good flying, until finally it was time to pack up and head for home. Most of the crew went over and toured the historic Wendover Air Base Museum, but I decided to head on for home because I had had a possible problem with my engine or gearbox. I'm going to have to try to sort that out in the next week or so. Anyway, a great weekend of flying with a great bunch of people. Can't think of any better way to spend it.